Hey folks, happy Thursday. Today we're going to talk about roller marks, lap marks, and ceilings, what causes them and how to fix them. Looked at a job today and brand new construction house. It had a smooth finish on the ceilings and you could see the customer was calling it lap marks or roller marks. It was really where the joints were, where you can see the joints in the ceiling. And so what causes that? Well, way back, 20, 30 years ago, when it was popular to have a knockdown finish on a ceiling or a real heavy texture on a ceiling, you didn't really run into this problem. The reason for that is there was no reflection from that ceiling reflecting off from the lighting because the texture was hiding all of that. This is why flat paint is easier to touch up than semi-gloss paint or eggshell paint or satin paint. It's reflection. It's light reflecting off of that surface, and that causes things to stand out. It's the same thing with the ceiling. The smoother the finish, the harder it is to hide those joints. Sometimes it's a texture issue. Sometimes the texture on the joint doesn't match the texture on the rest of the ceiling, and it causes it to be noticed. In this situation, it wasn't. The texture was fine. The problem was it was down a corridor. It was essentially a very long hallway that opened up into a living room. And they had light coming from one side. So what was happening was that light was shining all the way down that corridor, and it was reflecting off of that ceiling, and you could see all the joints. So how do you fix this? Everybody has flat paints, and before I get into that, I need to explain that just because something is flat doesn't necessarily make it a dead flat, no finish paint. For example, the company I work for, we make what we call a 300 line flat, we make a 400 line flat, and we make an 18-60 flat. Now the differences between these: a 300 flat is a very washable flat. And when you grade flats, eggshells, satins, it goes in a range. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that range for flat, not only company-wide, but just the standard in the industry is 0.00 to 0.05, just to throw a number out there. Okay, you could have a flat that's a 0.04, and you could have a flat that's a 0.02. They're both flat, but one of them has a little bit higher of a shine than another one. There's reasons for that. The higher the finish, the more washable the coating is. So if you want a really, really washable flat, you would probably have it on that range where it was close to an eggshell when you're talking cleanability. A dead flat is going to hide your imperfections better, but the problem is it's not going to be durable really at all. Well, you don't need a whole lot of durability for ceilings. It's not like you're going up there and rubbing your hand across them or getting dirt on them. So typically they're pretty flat. Our 400 flat is a pretty flat paint. On the scale, if you were to say, put a number on it, at a 0.02 maybe is where that flat would sit. Still a little bit washable, which is why we give it a little tiny bit of a sheen, but still pretty flat. And 99.9% of the time, it is the go-to paint for ceilings. This situation, it wouldn't have been. There was a lot of bad things about this situation. One, it was a smooth finished ceiling. It didn't even have an orange peel. It had no texture whatsoever. The other problem was it's down a corridor, opening up into a living room, and there's light coming from one side. So you shut all the doors, and it disappeared. All these marks disappeared. When you opened the doors and the light came in, guess what? You could see every joint. So the way to fix that, or at least make it less obvious, was to go to the in our line, it would be the 18-60, which is a dead flat finish. There's no shine to it whatsoever. What that's going to do is it's going to cause less light reflection. Will it make it all go away? There's no way to know that for sure, but it will make it 100% better than it is, because light won't necessarily reflect off of that ceiling like it is right now in one direction. Even with a dead flat, when you're going down a corridor and you got light coming from one side, you could run into a slight issue with that. So you want to make sure there's a few things you want to make sure of. You want to make sure if you're in that situation that you use the most dead flat you can possibly use. You want to make sure that you crisscross when you roll a ceiling. I have seen guys in the past, they'll roll it one direction and not roll it the other direction. And that causes problems because you're essentially rolling paint on and you're rolling paint off of that ceiling. So a dead flat will definitely help if you're in that situation. Like I say, you can't guarantee 100% it will go away totally because there's a lot of things going against that. A hallway, long corridor, light coming from one side. You're really behind the eight ball in a lot of ways. But it would definitely be better than in this situation what it is now. What they have now is that you can see every joint and several roller marks. But it's not a texture issue. The texture looks fine. It's more of a environment issue. So I hope that helps. I hope those of you that may be running into that situation take that advice. Give me a call if you're local to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Denham Springs area even. Really, if you're in Louisiana, period, call me. And I'll be glad to help you out, point you in the right direction if I'm not local to that area. If you're a homeowner, this should really help you. But if you're a painter, it should help you too. A lot of painters don't realize how much an environment affects paint. So, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. And please subscribe to my YouTube. If you're on YouTube watching this now, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. It's totally free. And it really helps me out to bring you more of these. If you're watching this on Facebook, please hit the like button and go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. Thanks. I hope y'all have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you soon. Bye.